I'm surprised.
They want in, brother, and they will take you out to get in. Cause I tell you, when I was in school, and them fools kept trying to give me tests, my mother told them, he ain't taking no test. He don't take no test. Life is not a test. My mother come out of Georgia, cause he don't take no test. What are you gonna do, Miss Jackson? He's here to keep you balanced, cause you know you crazy. And I said right there too. And kept the teacher balanced, because they know they were crazy. Trying to fit in. You know what I mean? You're going to educate a kid. You got to talk about his mama's on welfare, his father got a coke habit. Oh, my God. What that got to do with it?
Why are you spreading that stuff?
Wait,
what is your problem?
When they throwing a pass to the football guy and the cat running, they don't holler, hey, here we go. He running. His mother was on welfare, his daddy wasn't home, and this, that, and other, and his sisters run out on coke on Lincoln Street. They don't do all that. You understand me? They let him run. Let the kid run. Let it go. Cut the game. The jig is up. The jig is up.
And the teachers of
crazy.
I won't say of old, but the teachers of before, they taught with a sense of mission. They understood the connection between education and liberation. These teachers today, they get a degree and they think that's it. Well, I got a master's degree, but the master's degree didn't teach you nothing about your black self.
There you go.
It just gave you a piece of paper.
They want in, man. They want to have the sandwich with the other people. That's their whole thing. They'll sell those kids down just to sit there and have a sandwich.
Listen, this is what I was confronted with in the school system.
Hell,
I was dealing with.
not even a big
And so I came in dealing with teachers. I didn't care what your color was, black, white, green, polka dot. If you was not going to teach our children that they needed to have to make them successful, then you are not going to stay in that school.
Out.
Period. End of story. When you have more of an allegiance to a teachers union than to the development of the minds of our children, knowing that you cannot successfully create change between 8 and 3, then you gotta go. My teachers I got from the community. They went to the same church. They went in the supermarket. They went to the stores. They were part of the community. Later for all of this, you live in Long Island. They want to come into Queens to teach and then go back to Long Island, and then you never have to see the mess that you left behind.
That's right. Because you ain't gonna help it anyway. Because secretly you're in competition.
Yeah,
that's powerful.
Yeah,
you're right about that.
You're in competition. I know the game.
Right,
they ain't gonna help you to be in competition with their kids or kids people look like them.
That's why his continuation of what he was doing, we have to make it.
It's very important. Very important.
We got to put him back on his platform.
He's going back.
All right, that's what I'm talking about.
How many people? Okay, good. We got 3 good microphones here, so we got to do board installed. So.
I like that.
So I guess it probably said, hey, we keep the guy, huh?
Yeah.
So what you?
So he's going back, right? We're going to put him back. We're going to put him black.
Now for the Town Talker with Reverend Zechariah A. Jackson. Reverend Jackson is founding pastor of the Church of What's Happening Now, located in Plainfield, New Jersey. And now, the Town Talker, Reverend Zechariah Jackson.
Boy, I tell you, that Post, I guess everybody's talking about the Post newspaper in New York, and I don't know what that artist was thinking. Had the dead monkey and hollering the stimulus is dead, or what he said, the stimulus is dead, or whatever the case may be, or some old names along that line. Don't you know, people, that you got to, that's just not going to stop the people no more. The change has already been done, and you need to come on off of that crazy stuff and trying to put people down and hear you. This is the President of the United States, and you're hollering that the stimulus package is dead, or whatever the case may be, or the foolishness that you're hollering. Now, I give though that your package is only for the poor people. Let me explain something to you. Everybody is waiting on the stimulus.
That's right.
Is the stimulus welfare? Yes, it is. But it's a welfare we need. You know we need that form of welfare, America. The teachers are waiting for the stimulus package. The police in New York are waiting, Bloomberg said, for the stimulus package. Now, that's not what the Reverend Zachariah said. That's what he said on TV. He said that with the stimulus package, he don't have to lay them off. So if he ain't got to lay them off, that means they must be waiting on it.
Amen.
Come on now. Now, I hate to keep on going this way, but America, you got to be better than this. Now, when the when the president was sworn in, you had somebody that made a cookie in New York, and a black cookie with big lips and big eyes, and like a mud pie head. You know how they used to do back in the early 1900s. You know how you did, and you're still doing the same old thing, trying to freeze the people. But you cannot stop these people. Now God already sanctioned them. Now they done took them from ancient Egypt, and now they in modern day Israel. And of course, foolishness have come their way, but they've learned.
Right.
They've learned from the journey. The only thing I'm just gonna have to chant Barak name for a minute, just to get rid of the to get the devil out the place. Not in this place, but in the whole America. I'm gonna chant his name for a minute. Barak
Obama.
Barak
Obama.
Barak
Obama.
Barak
Obama.
Barak
Obama.
Barak
Obama.
Keep hope alive. Now, America, I know that you're better, and you're gonna get better, because you know why? We're going to keep on working as one people. Let us not segregate ourselves anymore from one another. We got to hold hands like Doc King did years ago. Let's hold hands and walk together, America. This is not a separate place. And get out of the ideology that those that listen and say, this is not not in my community, ain't on my block. Well, if it's in America, it is your block.
That's right.
Wherever's in America, it's your block. You understand? Because if you can fly all the way to Baghdad and holler, this is our block, but you can't go down the street to Front and Park, and that's not your block. Now, I mean, now if you want Baghdad to follow, you first got to take care of home.
Exactly.
Am I right or wrong?
That's right.
Today, I'm honored to have a young man with me, a Rudy Crew, if you will, a Rudy Crew of New York. You remember Chancellor Crew? They kept on messing with the Chancellor. The Chancellor, they just kept on. The Chancellor got tired of this, left, and got on out of town. I think New York owed him some money, though. I think he went to Seattle. He just got tired of bother Rudy Crew all the time. We got a brother by the name of Shango. Yes, Shango. And Shango gonna talk to us about the school system in New York, and I guess that same thing reflects all over America. And we got Brother David.
Yes, sir.
Got Brother David, his sidekick right along with him. And me, myself, I'm happy, and it's a privilege to be here with activist woman, Rebecca Kelly.
Amen.
She's right here with me. And she was in New York today when Al Sharpton was out there protesting the post.
Yes, I was.
Right there in New York with
We had to come together to realize that it's a privilege and a pleasure to us to have a black president in the White House. It's an honor, and we need to recognize one thing, that he is human like anyone. Dr. King says never judge the cover, never judge a book by the cover. In other words, you are looking at him and downing him because of his color.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He has been pointed to as a monkey,
pie head,
cookie head, and these type of things. I mean, the mentality of people. Where are we coming from?
Come on,
I mean,
America.
the mentality. We need to realize one thing. He's there, and he's a role model for the world.
For the whole world.
Not just for the United States.
For the whole world.
He's beloved all over the world. And if you just stop tying his hands, he will bring this country back on its foot. Just give him a chance. You can see where he's heading and what his intentions are. And I personally believe that there's going to be a day when he is going to bring the country back to where it was.
That's right.
Take it out. It's taking time because it has been left. He did not create this.
No.
He inherited this. Okay, this was left for him. This is what he inherited.
The man that created this whole madness and this whole money thing, you guys, the American people, took your taxpayer dollars and flew him back to Texas.
That's right.
You see, he should have got on a bus. But you flew him back in the Air Force One, right? You understand me? Back to Texas. Now, let's just take one
Made
moment.
him walk.
Should what I'm trying to say right now. I just want to say this right here from, looking at the celebrity thing in the Jet magazine. Natalie Cole. They say Natalie Cole, we all love Natalie. Natalie Cole may get a kidney from her son. So if she can get one and her body can receive it, let us pray that this thing works. You see, that's mama and son. They got a picture of the mother and son on page 14. So if you can do that. And also, Tyler Perry got one of his movies out. The end of Tyler Perry's Medina. Medina is,
Where's the jail?
was it Medina? What, no, not Medina, I'm sorry.
Medea.
Medea. I got a friend named Medina. Don't get mad, Medina. I'm sorry. Medea. Medea goes to jail. So if you can, I think it's going to be out tomorrow. If you can, get the family out and take care of it and take a look at the movie and everything. Have some fun. And let's do this thing together, America. Brother, would you introduce yourself again to the people and tell us
Your story.
your story?
Yes, I'm Shungo Blake, former principal of intermediate school of IS 109 and the founder of AskBlake.com, an educational social network website that is going to bring us together as parents, teachers, and principals under a vision of change. Because as you know, change has come to America, and we have to make change in the public school system so that our children can have the same opportunity that our president had, and they can go on and lead us into a new direction. I have a very unique story. I became principal of IS 109 in 2003. And when I took over the school was completely, totally out of control. Just think Lean On Me times 1,000.
Wow.
Everything you could think of. It's a middle school, 1,600 students.
A middle school.
Middle school.
That's like from
Grade 6 to 8.
Oh
And
man.
let me tell you something. That middle, if you're a teacher out there, when I say middle school, you absolutely know what I'm talking about. And everything that you can think of in terms of urban blight, gangs, low teacher expectation,
Wow.
low
Drugs.
self-esteem of the
Drugs.
students,
Yes.
community, low community confidence. These were the things that existed. This is what I walked into, and I'll never forget. I came in May of that year because the principal prior to me, she just couldn't take it. You know, it was one of those things where they had the average principal was if you had 10 years, then you had 12 principals. So you're talking about every year or sometimes in every 6 months, a new principal was coming into the school based on the not being able to really get the support they needed to address the issues, and then dealing with the undermining that would come from many segments of the community, whether it was politicized PTAs, whether it was an entrenched teaching staff,
Wow.
whether it was a local politician or somebody who was in charge of a teachers union. Any principal coming into that situation was dealing with a lot. So I walked in, and it was so funny because the superintendent.
Were you there during Rudy Crew time?
No, I wasn't there.
After.
I actually was there during the first year of Chancellor Klein's administration.
Okay, now who's the chancellor now?
Chancellor Joel Klein.
Okay.
And he was actually I was an assistant principal in the same school when he was first got his chancellorship
Wow.
at New York. And then I came in that May, end of that year, and became principal. One superintendent appointed me, and then he was gone.
Wow.
And then another superintendent came in and said, well, I didn't make the appointment, so now I don't want you. So she disappointed me, and I was truly disappointed. And then I had to go through the process again of appointments. I'm the only principal in New York City that had to go through what's called a C30 process, which is an appointment process for principals twice.
Now let me ask you this right here, brother. Now you guys have a superintendent, and then you have a chancellor also.
Yes.
See, we just have a superintendent.
The way it works in New York is that the chancellor of New York is equivalent to what a superintendent would be out here. But in New York, because the system is so big,
Right.
you have a chancellor and then superintendents of local communities.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
the superintendent
like
here,
a borough president.
yes,
basically.
sir. So the superintendent here is equivalent to what a chancellor would be in New
In
York.
New York. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I walked in, and one of the things that I decided to do over that summer was I met with the parents. I asked the PTA to come in. I told them what I wanted to accomplish, and I asked a couple of teachers to come in, and we started working on a new plan, a new vision for the school. And we had come to an agreement that we should have a uniform policy.
Okay.
And I brought that to the parents and asked for their support. They had it in the past, but it never was reinforced. So
Okay.
they were a little leery because they said, oh, we've tried that before, and, it didn't work. And so I said to them, listen, if you back me, I will enforce this policy.
Okay.
But I can't enforce it by myself.
All right.
Because when I do this, I'm going to step on some toes.
Sure.
But I'm going to need parents to say, no, this is what we, the parents, want. And if you want it, and I'm comfortable that I have your support, then I'm going to go forward.
And you shouldn't be no toes you stepping on actually with uniforms. That should be even.
It should be, but you have
throw extra uniforms in there to
listen,
say to parents. But I
but
understand.
you
understand.
have to understand the way things have changed today.
Right.
You know, before children went to school. When I went to school, my mother gave me one basic rule: boy, I better not get a call from one of the teachers telling you act up.
Right.
And then and that was it.
Yeah.
And you had to a lot of times you had to explain yourself to prove that you was right because you was wrong already just by the phone call.
Without a doubt, yeah.
But today it's a different mentality. The children come to the school, bringing the parents into the school to tell you off.
Right.
So things have switched.
Sure.
So when the uniform policy came, there were going to be some children who didn't want it, and they would tell their parents, and then their parents would come in and tell me, well, my child doesn't want it, rather than the parent dictating to the child, no, this is the agenda here, and this is what you're going to follow. So we've kind of have our priorities off.
Sure.
But anyway, we went forth with the uniform policy. I sent out letters to the parents that summer, and it went throughout the community like wildfire. Did you get that letter? He gonna make us wear uniforms. So I knew the first week in September that I was gonna be challenged because the certain students are just gonna say I'm not gonna wear it.
Sure.
And I come from growing up. I had a little what it was called street credibility. Growing up, being young and being in the hood, I know a little bit about when you say you're going to do something, you better do it.
Sure.
Because if you don't do it, then you don't have any credibility.
Right.
So the first day of school, all the students walked into the building. Most of the sixth graders, which was the new population, was in uniform. Majority of seventh graders, they were in uniform. Maybe 15 to 20 were out. Now, this is a school of 1,600.
Wow.
The eighth graders, that's the seniors. This is their year.
Right.
This is their time to rule.
Right.
And here I come saying uniform. So half of them, which is about 500, so 250 to 300, did not wear uniform. So this is the test now.
Sure.
What happens? So what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to prepare for this because I know they're going to test me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can withstand the test
Sure.
and not blink, then I can pull this thing off. So I had all the PTA parents who supported me come the first day, and for the first month they came actually, so that they could record what I was doing, because I didn't want anyone to say that I was treating children inappropriately or not, or being unfair in my administration of rules. So I wanted parents that could say, no, we're here, we're watching, we're observing, and you know what? He's doing the right thing. And a lot of times school leaders, we have to sometimes learn to humble ourselves and ask for help, and not be so arrogant when it comes to bringing forth decisions. Because I have had very great success with parents. And people always say, "Well, what do you do?" I say, "I simply ask."
Sure.
I say, "I need your help.
Talk to them.
I don't have all the solutions. What's your input?" And when people realize that you're being sincere with that, they tend to, get on board. After a while, they say, "Okay, this guy's not playing. He really wants to make this thing happen."
Positive change.
So I'm sorry, but we got the uniform in.
Sure.
The students showed up for the first day, and those who didn't have uniform had to wait outside. And I brought them into the auditorium, and I said to them, the law says I have to teach you,
Right.
but your instruction will be happening in the auditorium today. And I rotated teachers in, and the teachers taught them in the auditorium, and we created folders for each student. They ate lunch in the auditorium, and they were dismissed from the auditorium. So that word went out, that they were removed from the general population.
Right.
So now, the next day, it went from 250 to 75. By the end of the week, it was 25, and by the end of the month, 100% compliance. And it stayed that way for the whole year.
Okay, brother. We press, and for time, we want to get your story.
Sure.
Your whole story out. Now, at this moment, what actually happened? I feel your discipline. You remind me of Joe Clark, I believe, from Lean On Me. We just seen that the other day, and we love Joe. And
Yes.
Joe was right in many things. He had his way of doing it, but he was right. What is it?
Well, let me just say
state?
this. What happened was, to make a long story short, is the easiest part. I told you a uniform story because the easiest part of my job was to get the students to fall in line.
Sure.
It was the adults and the faculty and some of the other influences that became problematic, because once we got the students in order, then we removed the excuse that they were unteachable.
Sure.
And now the focus was you must teach these children, and you must rethink the way you teach them.
Sure.
I love Joe Clark too, but there's only one problem I have with how he's been presented. They don't tell the total story in regards to him.
Sure.
He was not just a disciplinarian; he was an instructional leader.
Yes.
And a lot of times when they put black men in urban schools, they only want us to clean up stuff.
Right.
But they don't want us to get into the enriching program.
Sure.
I brought a pre-nursing program, a pre-engineering, pre-law, a hip-hop and education program that connected the New York State learning standards to hip-hop culture.
Sure.
And
Did you get support from a lot of the hip hop artists themselves, or?
you know, though, not really. I mean, we were in some hip-hop magazines and what have you, but that wasn't our focus. Our focus was the children, because actually we were counteracting what the hip-hop artists were doing.
Sure.
Because I told, one of the things was when I made the students wear their uniform, I said, listen, we're going to make I said, the reason you wear the clothes you wear is because someone has fed to you that this is an example of what success looks like.
Sure.
So therefore, you wearing a uniform of pop culture. I said, we're going to change that, and for the purpose of school, we're going to make uniforms popular and not wearing uniforms unpopular.
Sure.
I said, so we're going to make our own rap song, and then we're going to make our own rap video. But we didn't just put the students in the video. We taught them how to budget the video. We taught them how to market it. We taught them how to do script writing and recording and editing, and then we did and storyboarding. And so we were now taking the learning and making it relevant in their minds. And this was celebrated. But just like what they're doing with President Obama, the man is a visionary. And he's bringing about change. But as you see with the Republicans and others, and some Democrats, there's an entrenched mentality that does not want to go along with the change. Yeah. And that mentality will do anything in their power to undermine success. Yeah. Well, the same thing happened with me and the teachers and some of the teachers in that school. There was an entrenched mentality in terms of some of the staff. They did not want to actually come to work and now actually have to teach these black children. Okay. And so
were some of them black themselves?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Unfortunately. And when you're a leader of a school and you have to be the change agent and a reformer, when you come across that, you're forced to make two decisions. It's one of the two. It's like the red pill or the blue pill, like the Matrix.
Okay.
Either I'm going to sit here and see that these children are being miseducated, and I'm not going to do anything because I don't want to rock the boat.
Sure.
Because I have a career that I'm looking at, and I want to have longevity in this career, so I'm not going to do too much. Or I'm going to run the risk of being isolated and force these teachers to either change or begin to look for a different career. Because at a certain point, and you'll see this with the president, there's only so much reaching out of a hand that you can do.
That's the truth.
If the hand is not being reached across the other side, so at a certain point, you got to make a decision.
And I think he made that the decision also when he was he brought in a lot of the Republicans and things, and they started to see that they fighting against it.
Yeah, so you know, at a certain point, I can't do it. So what happened was, I said, okay, look, so in my tenure at that school, I had to remove several teachers who did not want to teach our children. And once you do that, you come into a political conflict with the teachers' union, because the teachers' union exists, especially, I'm going to talk about New York now. They exist to protect teachers, regardless of their competency or their incompetency. Right. They are not children-based. That has to be clear. Sure. Matter of fact, if you know the history of the teachers' union in New York City, they were staunch opposers of community control of schools. And when the mayor took over New York City and made mayoral control, their argument wasn't for the school to have, but for the community to have more control of the school. Their argument was for the teachers union to have more influence in the decision making that happens at the school. Okay. So when I'm bringing in parents and involving them and bringing in community support, and we go from the worst school in the district to the number one middle school 3 years in a row, and now everybody wants their child in that school. That didn't happen without me holding teachers accountable, because I can't go out there and publicly and say, this is the kind of school I have, while I got teachers who don't want to.
Okay, so how long did it take them to remove you?
Oh, well, I was there for 5 years.
5 years.
Yes, and at the end of 5 years, and what I did with the hip hop, this is why this is so important. They tried to get me on misappropriation of funds, because I was doing this stuff outside of the box with hip hop and education and bringing in all of these different programs. And so, because they didn't understand how I was incorporating hip hop into the curriculum,
Sure.
and they knew that that was a big attraction to the school, they used the New York Post and other New York dailies just to say this the rapping principal. He's using money to make videos and buy limos, and they put a picture of me up on the in the paper and made me look like a pimp, you know. And what happened was, after a 3-year investigation, I was totally exonerated, and it was proven that I did not take any money and use it in a negative way. Matter of fact, the limos that they were talking about, I used to host a premiere for the students where 1,000 parents was out in the bleeding cold. We brought red carpet for the students, limos for the students, skylights for the students to celebrate their success as filmmakers and people who did budgeting and people who did marketing. And we sat out there as their fans to say to them, you are special.
That's right. That's right.
So to make a long story short, then when they couldn't get me with misappropriation of funds, they took a young man who had a history of violence in the school, a history of making false allegations against staff in that school and other schools, and they said, and they got him to testify that Mr. Blake beat me up, and then came up with a corporal punishment charge, and then they used knowing that I had eyewitnesses who was there when I disciplined this young man for bringing a trespasser into my building. They disregarded the eyewitness statements, and they went with hearsay evidence and removed me anyway. And Chancellor Klein, knowing my work, knowing the school, supported it for political reasons.
Wow.
And it all goes back to the history of our people. That's why it's so important when you say about history.
Yes.
Because if you know the history of our people, it was against the law, punishable by death, for anyone to teach a black person how to read.
Yes.
And that mentality and mindset still exists today. Teach them, but don't teach them how to become effective leaders, because once you do that, then your career is punishable by death.
Do you think that we could probably give a phone number that people could get in contact?
Now, if they want
with
to
you?
contact me, they should
As
go
well
to
as
the website, askblake.com. And the reason
spell
why
that?
that askblake.com is so important is because it is like Facebook and MySpace, except it's for educators.
All
On that website is my story. But also, a teacher from New York and a teacher from California can talk to each other and brainstorm solutions about what they're seeing. Or a parent who's having frustration with a school can talk to another parent.
Now, what year was that right there that you
This
talked
all happened within the last year. It was all 2008.
All 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, I mean,
So
it's
you were
still
principal up until 2008.
until 2000. I mean, we're appealing the decision, but that's important. But to me, it's more important that people become informed and aware of why our schools are not functioning. It's not just class size.
Sure.
It's not just because how do we produce greatness and we were teaching students in one-room schoolhouses.
Sure.
It's about the mentality of the people that are in front of our children.
That's true.
If they don't treat us right, then they'll never teach us right. So I want to encourage parents, principals, and those people who really want to make a difference in the school system, log on to askblake.com and you'll get information about how we can collectively come together to create a new paradigm for our young people.
And which is so important, without a doubt. We got 5 minutes. Anything you want to say, Rebecca, at this moment?
No.
Well, now, all right. Is there a hearing or something that you need to go to? Or?
I went through the hearing, and what we're doing right now is waiting, because the hearing was basically a New York City hearing.
Okay.
And so, they're going to reinforce their decision.
And what kind of support did you get from?
From the community.
From
We
the
had thousands of parents. They've had candlelight vigils, NAACP, Congressman Gregory Meek's office, the Southeast Queens clergy. I mean, the list just goes on. The District 29 Parent Teachers Association, as well as my PTA. The community was outraged. You can see the documentary on the website. They were outraged by the removal of a successful principal. And you know what? Even with all that community support, even with the parents saying, we want him, they were ignored. Wow. That's why mayoral control of school is dangerous. Because if we had the old structure and the community was still in control of the school, they never would have been able to pull anything like that off.
What's the condition of the school now?
The school's going beyond worse
So
than
they
when I
got
had
drugs back in the school.
everything.
Lack of education in the
We're
school.
gonna definitely need
That's
to
crazy.
follow up on this show here. So now, is there a date that that the word is supposed to come down, or where you at?
It can happen within the next 2 to 6 weeks. So we are waiting for a decision that will come down from the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in reference to my particular case.
So at this time, are they still paying you?
No.
Nothing.
This is about the destruction and
They trying to really
isolation.
tear you down.
Tear me down. It's
Trying
not.
to destroy
It's
me.
not a matter of me not having a job. It's about destroying
The
my
mindset.
credibility, my character, and my will. But they
Sure.
cannot destroy my will
That's right.
because you know what?
gonna
Change
keep
has
on-
come to
Change.
America.
You're gonna keep on it.
You understand?
He's
So
gonna keep on
you
educating.
just gave me fired to continue to go.
Yes,
So
sir.
go to askblake.com and get this information.
You heard the brother talking, and so many times we hear stories like this that's never followed up, and we're gonna try to stay close to Brother Shango, and keep his change and keep our change alive. It's so important, especially when you have schools in a city where people don't realize the value of where they at. You know, I often say that I was in Pennsylvania, and a young man said to me, he said, in the cities, you guys move away from the money. He said, we stay by our money. So we got a company over here, we don't move too far, you know what I'm saying? So we don't value a lot of times that we're in the city, so we don't really know how to put that whole thing together where so much commerce is going on, I believe that if we could get an understanding of where we're at, we would be able to do better and expect better of one another. I often heard Jesse Jackson down in Washington, D.C. years ago say that, you guys own the most valuable real estate right down the street from the White House, you know what I mean?
That's right.
But do you know where you're at?
That's right.
So when you have things like that, we gotta figure out how to give you some support.
Amen.
The Town Talker Church, what's
This is-
happening now, we're
Yes,
with
sir.
you.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
We're with you. So whenever you
This
need
is-
to come on, you got something to say, come on, bring it on, and let's get the work done.
Let's get to work. Let's let our
Where we at
children
in time, Bob?
fail.
We got 1 more minute, so I guess we're just gonna say this right here. Please, America, stop the foolishness.
Please.
Barack Obama is president of America, and not of Black America or White America or Blue America or
Black
Green. He's the
America.
president of America. Let's come together and let's just end with this. Barack
Obama!
Barack
Obama!
Barack
Obama!
Barack
Obama!
Keep hope alive.
That was fire, brother.
Man, y'all, we got to keep this.